When it comes to Zoom meetings, Zoom team chat, even Zoom phone, how are companies dealing with the security and compliance requirements needed to run their business? We're going to talk about that next. Any communication or collaboration modality of any kind is going to require some sort of compliance and security oversight. Whether it's chat, file share, meetings, phone, webinars, all these are going to have some sort of standards that are required to run your business. When it comes to chat, you're going to maybe address archiving and archiving connectors, maybe files, direct messages, even Teams messages. When it comes to video compliance and security in regards to maybe PII information or PHI information, maybe screen sharing, screen capturing, screen recordings, all of those have to be taken into account when you're dealing with security and compliance in regards to video and video recordings. When it comes to voice, we're dealing with call recording regulations like Dodd-Frank and PCI as well as FSA. And how do companies enforce those enterprise regulations and requirements onto your voice platform? So we're going to talk about that today. Modern security and compliance regulations and requirements needed for all modern communication platforms. Theta Lake and Zoom have partnered to make this happen. We're going to dive deep into what it looks like from an administrative perspective and why companies rely on Theta Lake for their communication, security, and compliance standards. Okay, we're diving deep with Theta Lake, as I discussed earlier in the intro. Theta Lake is a compliance and security company that works seamlessly with Zoom. So in order to dive deeper into it, I've invited somebody that knows far more about Theta Lake than myself. Anthony, why don't you introduce yourself and why the heck you're even here?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Patrick. So, quick intro for myself, Anthony Robinson. Excited to be here with you today, Patrick, and talk about Theta Lake, what we are, what we do, and then really the partnership that we have with Zoom and why that's so unique and special in the industry. High level overview, as you've already kind of mentioned on, Theta Lake is specifically targeted for modern collaboration to meet security and compliance or regulated industries. I am just recently joined Theta Lake. I've been here for a few months. The past few years before that, I was actually at Zoom as a sales engineer. Joined Theta Lake just a few months ago, and the partnership has been great. So a really great thing that we have with our partnership, and the thing that I love about Theta Lake, not only is it built for compliance and security, it's really to enable a lot of the features that are in these UC platforms as we talk about Zoom specifically today. So coming from Zoom, Zoom is a very robust platform. So anything modern collaboration, so persistent chat, in-meeting chat, audio, video, content, all of that data and all of that content for these regulated industries and these monitored industries, a lot of customers out there, they don't have a way to be able to capture and monitor that content today. That's where Theta Lake comes in. Theta Lake was built for modern collaboration tools and platforms, Zoom specifically in this instance. And this graphic here that I'd like to kind of point and direct some time to, a lot of what our customers that we talk to, they don't have a great solution today to be able to capture and then archive securely a lot of these modern collaboration tools. So with Theta Lake's partnership with Zoom, we've been partnered since 2017, and Zoom is already a robust platform. So the APIs, the RESTful APIs that Zoom has, we get a backbone off of those. And then anytime that there's future APIs or development, we actually co-partner on that so that we can provide the best experience for these customers. A lot of these features and functionalities that we're going to be talking about later on today as part of the Zoom product suite for these regulated industries, persistent meeting chat, team chat, in-meeting chat, Q&A, meeting polls, voice calls for Zoom phone, SMS, all of those product features that you have on Zoom, a lot of them we find when we talk to customers is that they're disabled. So a lot of times you'll get in with customers, team chat's disabled, in-meeting chat's disabled, recordings disabled, and it really breaks the experience for end users. And then it pushes those end users to go and find tools elsewhere. So a lot of times what we see with our customers is they'll be using Zoom and then a plethora of other applications in order to support their workflows. That Theta Lake Zoom partnership enables the enhancement of those rich features that Zoom supports natively today and allows these organizations to enable these features and use them as part of the licensing that they're already paying for. What most customers do when they come to us, the first start on getting kicked off is, hey, we need to be able to capture this. And a lot of customers have their existing archive. So if they're using a global relay, a Smarsh, or if they're doing like their own bucket within Amazon or Azure, what Theta Lake does is we capture all of that content in its native form. So it's full fidelity content. So if you're capturing audio, video, persistent chat, or in-meeting chat, or even things like reactions or GIFs, We maintain all of that, and we'll do a cool demo here in just a second. And then we can push that all down stream to the customer's existing archive that they have today. So as part of that capture, we'll capture things all included in the metadata. So things like first name, last name, email addresses, phone numbers, VIDs, all of that now becomes searchable. We enrich and package that up and then send it downstream so that the customers' workflows that they have, so as they're reviewing this content and their engagements that their users are having, that they're meeting those regulatory requirements in the industry. Another cool thing that Theta Lake is able to do is we do offer native e-discovery. So if the customer wants to leverage their own archive, they already have their e-discovery system that they're doing, awesome. That's usually where we land with a customer, and then we start to roll out, hey, we have this full fidelity content, how do we review it better? Usually everything that goes downstream to these legacy archives are in an EML format. So it looks just like in an email. If you were to see an email, it's time-stamped, it has interactions with users. It's very hard to read. So when you're looking at things like text messages, SMS, or team chats, you have to go and find a ton of data, compile it, and then run a report to try to historically find out if anything was compromised, sensitive information were shared, or things to that effect. So what Theta Lake does is enhances that ability to be able to securely capture that data, compliantly catch it to meet those industry regulations. And then the next step is always, hey, how do we make that experience better? What can we do to kind of make that more intuitive to end users to really save time and overhead?
Just two things I'm thinking of right off the top of my head by looking at this amazing slide. One, in 2017, when Zoom and Theta Lake got together, hardly any of those functionalities and modalities were even available for Zoom. So this probably wasn't even an in-depth discussion for customers. And now two, I speak to a lot of our customers that are Microsoft customers and they're typically E3 customers. And a lot of this advanced e-discovery, advanced search isn't even available at an E3 license. So they have to even go up to an E5 license. And that's just for Microsoft stuff. This looks like from Theta Lake that we're doing this all from the Zoom lens and the Theta Lake lens without ever needing that advanced E5 licensing to happen.
You're exactly correct. In order for us to be able to capture for Microsoft Teams to meet those requirements, you have to have an E3 license, an add-on license for each user that needs that compliance. So not only does it become really expensive, now we have multiple licenses that we're shuffling around, having to manage those users differently. And then not only that, the user experience is different as well, and then it's not as cost effective as Zoom. Zoom natively supports this, and we'll go into some articles and stuff that Zoom does support. And really, it's something that Zoom's been visionary on. So it really is where Theta Lake saw this gap in the marketplace. It's been so easy to partner with Zoom because all of these are supported natively on the platform. That's a great point, Patrick. The last thing I do want to touch on, we're not going to talk too much about this today. Something that Theta Lake does is kind of our secret sauce. So everybody knows that Zoom's great. Adaptive layer switching technology is very unique to Zoom, and that's why Zoom is such a good UC platform. It works in low bandwidth areas, lower overhead utilization of system resources on each device. But not only that, Theta Lake matches that with their own secret sauce, being we leverage artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing, and things like OCR, so optical character recognition, where we can actually process all of that content, and then we can do programmatic flags saying, hey, this is a threat. We had Anthony share something, or we had him share a screen, or he even held up something on a piece of paper that says, hey, buy this stock. It's going to be huge. We're going to make a lot of money. Theta Lake's able to capture that, package that up, and then send it to a compliance reviewer or whoever the title of that individual is. And then from there, they can actually programmatically see that encounter and all of that content in its native format, and then do things like escalate to a legal hold, review, or export to an archive, and all those advanced features. We won't cover too much of that today. That's more kind of the bread and butter we'll talk about in the future. But just to kind of reiterate this is most customers don't have a good capture solution today. They've disabled features within Zoom, unfortunately, in order to meet these regulated industry standards, and then they're paying for features that they're not even using. So the Theta Lake Zoom partnership allows you to get kind of the full experience of Zoom and then enhance your users' tool sets that you're already paying for.
I love this idea because Zoom, as we expand our portfolio, we are a UCaaS company, right? That's all we do. We do exclusively UCaaS. We are not a file storage company. We are not an identity or security company. We are a UCaaS company. And so what we do, our philosophy is really reliant on partners that are expertise and best in breed in this space to do exactly things that we're not in the position to do. Now, security and compliance is not our bread and butter. So we have to partner with Theta Lakes and best in breed in order to get this to happen.
Yeah, and that partnership, and that's actually a good segue for us. So that partnership is heavily on Zoom. So Theta Lake, this is what we do. This is what our leaders are experts at in the field. But the thing that Zoom does provide us is a lot of these native feature sets that we're talking about for capture and archiving is natively supported by Zoom. So we'll send out this article, or we can attach this in the description, but this just goes over some of the things that we can capture. So all of that metadata that's coming through, so whether it's a persistent chat, we need to know an email address, first name, last name, we're able to capture all that information with Zoom. We don't have to pull strings or fill gaps or anything. That's all natively coming directly from Zoom. Once this is enabled on an account, we can easily set up integrations to start capturing this, but then also get granular with who do we want to capture for. And this article kind of goes over that. So like everything else Zoom's features, we can apply them at the account level, the group level, or the individual user level. So when we go over to our account settings, once this is enabled, here's what it looks like natively within your Zoom admin portal. So this is where we can get granular and select, hey, maybe I only need to capture eComs, in-meeting chat. I can actually select, do I want that for meetings? Do I want that for webinars? Do I want it for meeting and webinars? And then I can select which feature set or which content that I actually want to capture. We can also set this, I'll show you up on the Theta Lake side, but this just allows you that flexibility and granularity, and then also scalability going forward. With a lot of these regulated industries, they haven't caught up yet for video. They haven't caught up yet on good things for content or whiteboarding. The partnership that we have with Zoom and Theta Lake is preparing for the future. And just like everything else Zoom that's scalable and easy to use for a user, that they could come in here at any time and say, okay, we need to start capturing video and screen share. We need to start capturing whiteboards. We need to capture direct messages. So that's kind of those hidden messages back and forth in meetings. We can get really granular and then allow that at the account level, the individual subset group of users or the individual user, and then we can really monitor or be flexible and scalable with those regulated users.
You know, one of the cornerstones of Zoom is not only as a UCaaS company and all the modalities that we create ourselves, is that we've really put a ton of effort into extensibility and allowing this partnership for obviously multiple vendors in almost every space. So what we're trying to do is give choice to the individual user, individual company, individual enterprise to say, hey, whatever application, whatever partnership works best for you, we can do that with Zoom. And Theta Lake is taking a complete advantage of what this happens, this extensibility and our platforms, even from opening up APIs, right, and SDKs from a meeting platform, a chat platform, a video SDK platform. So this is another clear example of how Zoom can partner with a best in breed application like Theta Lake.
Yeah, I love that. You're spot on, Patrick. Exactly. And then also it's one of the thing I love about Zoom is it's intuitive. Everything's single pane of glass. So everything from license designation to user management, dashboarding, everything's a single pane of glass experience. And as we hop over to Theta Lake, it feels very similar. So everything that we do set up in configuration is going to be just like Zoom, single pane of glass. So things like dashboarding, reviewing, searching that content, or being able to run reporting. Everything's natively here within our dashboard, just like Zoom. Great thing to bring up is as we move over to the Theta Lake portal, everything that we're talking about here, we have pre-built integrations with Zoom. So if you go to the marketplace, the Zoom marketplace, you'll see that we have a handful of integrations that have been there for quite some years. And we continually work with Zoom and the product team in order to hit the next feature set or the next regulatory requirement. So that way we're always at that leading edge of technology, providing the best UCaaS solution for modern collaboration. As we look here at the Theta Lake portal, we'll dive over these probably in future sessions, but we do have those things like dashboards, reviewing of content, or those automated workflows to get content to specific reviewers. Policy, which we'll go over in just a second, that's set up in configuration. Search we'll go over next. And then we do also have things like real-time compliance advisors where we can monitor what's happening real time. So just like you have access to your Zoom dashboard, we actually take that a step further, enhance the dashboard, show you all of those same analytics, but then we can provide things like risk scores around screen shares or things to that effect that might be risky for your company or industry. As we talk here about the policy for setup and configuration, this is how intuitive it is. The two things that we're going to focus on is the content source. So this is going to be our collaboration platform. So here we have Zoom as our UC provider that we're going to be talking about. And then we have our content destination. So this is if a customer has a existing legacy archive today that they would like to capture that modern collaboration content, push it down to their legacy archive to support all of their workflows. We have that flexibility for the customer to be able to decide what they want to do. And as we get in here, so I'll show you, we do have a quick wizard set up. It's as easy as I would like to set up an integration. I'm going to pick my platform and a wizard will walk me through and do an OAuth authentication. So I just have to be an admin on Zoom, an admin on Theta Lake, and then I can do an OAuth connection with those. So everything's secure, everything's encrypted at rest and in motion, but it's not difficult to set up. A lot of the legacy partners that we talk about in the industry, their integrations are very complex. They require a lot of setup and configuration. Everything that I'm about to show you is very easy to set up and configure. So as we talk about these collaboration platforms, as soon as I need to start capturing that information, I can just come into my collaboration platforms. You'll see in my demo account, I have way more than most customers are going to have. Sure. So things like Slack, WebEx, Zoom, I can have as many integrations with as many platforms as I want. And in order to set up these integrations, I'm just going to click Add New Integration. I'm going to find which feature set of Zoom that I need to be able to start capturing for compliance. So if that, we'll just say e-coms, for example, is a pretty big one nowadays. I'm going to hit connect and this will redirect to the Zoom marketplace. I will authorize this as an admin. I can authorize that if I want for a specific subset group of users, the entire account, whatever I need to do. Very intuitive and easy to do. Once that's set up, or as part of that setup and configuration, you'll see that I can restrict this to things like those specific groups. I can select the media type. So if I want the audio and video, so again, I could set that at the Zoom side. I can also set that at the Theta Lake side. So tons of flexibility for each customer and their use case. We can support a wide variety of those. Even to granular things like, hey, maybe I need in-meeting chat. Maybe I need to include things like polls. Maybe I need to include webinar Q&A, or maybe I need transcripts. So this is something you could set up multiple integrations. So maybe if in Zoom you have a master account, sub account, like many of these regulated customers do, this gives me flexibility to say, hey, we can apply different integrations and capture different modalities or features of Zoom easily and intuitively. The last thing there is, where does it end up? So as we go back and talk about that destination, Theta Lake does offer, as part of the packaging, we do offer cloud storage. So we've partnered with AWS and then also Azure. So customers get to pick where they would like their data to reside, as well as their retention periods. They can create these on the fly. They can edit these at any time, or they can delete them at any time. A lot of flexibility there. Again, most of our customers are using a legacy system today, so like a Smarsh, Global Relay, Proofpoint, and so on. They can actually bring that with them, so we're not ripping and replacing. We're actually enhancing their legacy solution that they have today and helping to prepare it for the modern world of collaboration that we have today. In order for me to set that up, I would just go and choose which platform or existing archive provider that I have today, or if it's an existing SMTP journal archive, I can just go in and set this up, configure it, and I'm done. Everything's going to be captured by Theta Lake, packaged up for me nicely, and then sent to my existing archive to support my existing workflows or my e-discovery systems that I support.
I'm learning a ton, Anthony. I'm learning a ton.
Awesome. And there's a lot. We're just going to kind of break the tip of the iceberg today. There's a lot of great stuff here at Theta Lake. The next thing that we'll jump over to is, hey, so we've captured that content. How do we review it? How do we take a look at it? So a lot of customers, they have those legacy systems, or they'll do what's called dual archiving, meaning that Theta Lake has a record, and then their existing archive, like a Global Relay, will have a record that's in an EML or an email format. If you remember, those EML formats are really difficult to compile things like historical data and see them all in a single view. You have to go and pull those from multiple places, run reports, pull in users, and then compile them all together to review it. What we can do at Theta Lake is we have a e-discovery system natively built into the platform, and this allows you to do things like advanced searches and queries against the content that we've ingested. You'll see on the left here, I have a toolbar that helps me to define the specific content that I'm looking for. So I can set any of these parameters. So I can favorite them. This will apply to my user. I can favorite them. I can add them as tabs here below just to make my workflows a lot quicker and do advanced searches. So if I wanted to do things like a platform search, you'll notice I've already included some of these for Zoom today, but maybe I have other platforms. Maybe I do have part of a Microsoft shop. So if I want to search for Microsoft, maybe we're using SharePoint or Team Chat internally, Zoom externally, or vice versa. This allows you the granular ability to come and define which platform you're searching and even get down to specific participants. And then once we have our data sets that we're looking for here, these are now interactive. So just like Zoom's intuitive user interface, I can just interact with these. This is the native content that I'm seeing that's coming directly from Zoom. So you'll see this one here was brought in from Zoom Chat. It's going to have a timestamp on it. And then it's also going to show things like who participated in that. So as part of that metadata that we capture, we'll index that, and then any of that information becomes searchable. And I'll show you some cool examples in just a second. The thing that I really wanted to point out to you, Patrick, is as we talked about those EML files and being able to see historically what's taking on, so persistent chats or SMS or things to that effect, all I have to do is click this. I want to see this conversation. I want to see what happened. So if you'll notice, this was the conversation we were looking at, but I don't have the full context. I don't know what happened before that. I don't know if a file was shared. That's evidence that I have to go and search for. We're able to historically compile all of that information so you can see the back and forth of what's going on. Something unique that Theta Lake is able to do with those robust APIs that Zoom has, I can even capture emojis. I can capture reactions. I can capture GIFs. All of that shows up here in a graphical user interface. A big one too is you can even see that we have these deletes. So things like deletes or updates where somebody maybe said something that was inappropriate or shared something that was sensitive. I now have historical chain of command on who's the owner of that content, what did they share, what did they delete, and when was it deleted? And then I can go back and act on that appropriately. You'll even notice here I do have an attachment. So if I did want to see a native format of the file that was shared, that's also included in this. So I don't have to have a separate attachment or a document that I'm going and reviewing. It's exactly how you would see it in Zoom. So whether you're a reviewer that's using this, a compliance advisor, or you're just wanting better access to your data, Theta Lake does a great job of graphically representing the actual content. A couple more examples I wanted to show you. You can see here as part of our return parameters, we can see the different platforms that come back here. So as customers have thousands of different records, you can narrow that down super easily. And then you can even go down into a specific keyword. So if we search things like crypto is a big one these days, I can search for the keyword crypto. As part of that indexing that Theta Lake does, I'm going to take everything that happens. So whether it was seen, spoken, shared on a screen, shared on a whiteboard, shared in a chat, shared in a direct message, the list goes on and on. Yeah. Theta Lake is able to capture that, and then we can directly look at that. So I can come and see whether it was a document that it was sent in and we're using OCR to be able to capture that, or if it's just going to be back and forth communication, I can see historically, again, what was the context around that? What's happening? What's taking place in that conversation? And maybe I need to go in and say, hey, this isn't supposed to be archived. I can natively select a conversation and I can redact that information before it gets sent to the archive. We're working on some things with Zoom. Zoom does support this today, and I'm sure we'll be supporting it in the future. But we are looking to be able to support remediation as well. So this would allow me to come in here, look at a specific content, and I could actually click remediate, and it will take it directly from the source. So if it's something was shared a PDF file or a back and forth chat message in Zoom Team Chat, I can actually go in via Theta Lake and say, nope, this was inappropriate, and it will remove it from that persistent Zoom Team Chat So that way users can't see it, they can't go back and search for it, and then it'll display a message that says this was removed administratively with whatever messaging that we would like to push and send there. Yeah, a couple more cool things with this. I won't load you up too much on this. Go ahead and get rid of that keyword. But this is where a lot of customers with these legacy archive systems and providers today, they don't have a good solution for the ability to migrate data. They kind of hold your data hostage and then charge you a dollar amount if you want to move off of their platform or do dual archiving or do another system. The awesome thing with Theta Lake is we don't hold your data hostage. You have full access to your data. So if you need to be able to export any of this data, I could select on specific content. And then per that destination archive that was set up previously, I can choose to export those. I'm going to select, hey, which of those archives do I want that sent to? What do I want to send in it? What file type or what format do I want this sent in? I can be granular with how that's done and then run that in batch jobs or even automate that if I want to. A couple of things, I'll just show you more content here. So as we look in these, this is an SMS. So we saw a team chat, what that looks like. Here we're going to look at Zoom phone. This was an SMS interaction. So this is where I can see this is the user that's captured as part of the metadata. This user I actually don't have a first or last name for. This is a PSTN number. So this is, hey, maybe I need to track this. Maybe this person sent something historically that was sensitive or inappropriate. I can actually search off of this phone number as part of those participants and then pull up all of the interactions, export those, do whatever I need to from that effect. We really simplify that ability. And then again, I have the same option. If I want to come and redact that from the archive, I can natively do that. Some native things with SMS, you can see that we do capture reactions in here. A lot of the legacy systems don't capture that as well. We can actually still capture those for Zoom Phone and Zoom Phone SMS. Looking at a video, we're just going to look at this personal meeting room. This is where we can see, I'll just mute this so we don't get feedback here. This is where I can actually see video, have audio, interact with that, or see the actual interaction. And then again, anything that's seen, heard, spoken, or shown, Theta Lake is going to capture and then include as part of that index that now becomes searchable. We'll see here the chat transcription. This does come from Zoom, so I'm going to have a timestamp. I'm going to have a user. For those that are aware of Zoom and changing for PII California laws this past year. In Zoom, you'll notice your dashboard. A lot of those external participants now show up as a guest. What we are able to capture is not the email address, now that that's considered PII in some areas, but we are able to capture user IDs. So again, you can track and follow users and then see who's who, what they're saying, and what's going on, and capture those back and forth interactions and even direct private messages as well. As part of that, Theta Lake does provide a transcript. So we run that through our AI ML model, and then we will provide you with a transcript that's interactive. So if I'm searching for a keyword that popped up here, I don't have to go search for that in my video. All I have to do is click it, and it will take me directly to where that is in the content. So whether it's a PDF document, CSV, or an actual video, which is really hard in the industry to be able to do, Theta Lake makes that so intuitive for the user and grants that ability to do keyword searches and tie that directly to the content so that, again, you get the context and you get the full fidelity experience of what was taking place. If I did want to see things like what that's going to look like in an email format, once I get a report of what that looks like, I can come in here and I can export that or view that in any format type that I want. So if I come and look at this in a PDF report, it's going to show up. Here's a chat one I have up as an example. This is pretty basic. This is what a lot of legacy systems are working off of. So I can see the title or the topic of this conversation. I can see the timestamp of when it began. I can see who is actually interacting from a passive or an active participant, and then the back and forth along with those updates or deletes that took place in the conversation. We do provide some granularity like review summary. So we can see statuses, we can see media information, so record ID, the type of media content that's captured, the name of it. So again, that topic we get from Zoom, the size of it, creation, upload, the source of the platform we captured that from, and then the actual application platform that we're looking at. And then as we talk more in the future about Theta Lake's AI, machine learning, natural language processing, I'd love to talk to you, Patrick, about how we can make that programmatic. Hey, somebody shared something sensitive or brought up crypto. I want that to flag somebody that's reviewing it. We'll talk more about that in the future and how to kind of automate a lot of those workflows. And then from there, Patrick, I know we've covered a lot of information. We have much more to talk about in our future videos. The main thing I just want to finish on here is Theta Lake is not a rip and replace solution for these legacy archive solutions. So whether you're a customer or interacting with a customer, feature enrichment, enabling features of native UC platforms like Zoom, and being able to capture and then enrich that and send it downstream to those existing archives today is really where we do well. So we are a benefit and an add-on, just like you were saying, to not just Zoom, but then customers as well, to really help with onboarding, offboarding, and then really adoption of the platform that they're using as their main UC tools for collaboration.
Well, first of all, Anthony, this was great. I appreciate the information, and I think you let everybody know that we can't cover all this in one video. It's literally impossible. So we're going to have to start some sort of video series of going into each one of those modalities. And I even saw when it said Zoom e-commerce, Zoom phone, Zoom chat. I could see a video basically on all of those modalities that we're going to have to dive into. And a couple of things that I saw that it just came to mind is how Theta Lake and Zoom are parallel in the administration of the overall platform, lowering TCO costs for that company. For example, the ability to dive deep into e-discovery and all the modalities from one screen is really going to save, when you are a regulated company, a lot of time is spent going and getting all those archives from lots of different places. And by the way, usually it's a lawyer or somebody that's charging for that time, right? So I can see how this simplifies the process and lowers the overall TCO of compliance and security.
You're exactly spot on, Patrick. And that's what I would love to do in these future series that we're going to be having here is, let's talk Zoom phone. Let's go into use cases. Let's go into some of these regulated industries and talk about what I'm talking about with my customers here at Theta Lake, the pitfalls that they have today or the limitation of the features that they have. Would love to have those sessions going forward with you.
I appreciate your time, and I'm going to let you go for the afternoon. I can see it's beautiful, 33 degrees in Utah.
It's dry and cold here. Yes, can't wait to get back to it.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Patrick.
As you can see, the Theta Lake and Zoom partnership is super powerful from a compliance and security standpoint. As I told Anthony during the interview, I think we need to expand this series and do a lot more videos on the extensibility platform into Theta Lake and Zoom and how we can touch all these different modalities like Zoom Team Chat, Zoom Phone, Zoom e-commerce, Zoom meetings, Zoom webinars. And we can look to expand this understanding with further videos in this series. By the way, I am a Zoom distinguished architect. I am not a figurehead or spokesman for Zoom. I just like to talk about cool technology, and a lot of times that has to deal with Zoom.